we know you like talking Star Wars. We like talking Star Wars. So that's exactly what we're going to do. This is The Wars and More. All right, we just got done with May the 4th weekend, and we got tons of stuff to look forward to. We got a movie release schedule. We got a look at what's coming up in literature for the journey to the rise of Skywalker. And it's just super exciting. Star Wars is vibrant and just as fun as ever. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe. And of course, with me is my good buddy, Doug. Hey, Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Just got done with May the 4th, man. It's
right.
You know, I had a good Star Wars day. How about you?
Absolutely. Of course, it was, on TV all weekend, because it's always being broadcast. It was TBS had it on all weekend. It was great. And I got to say, so obviously it's on, there's other things going on around the house, but I just happened to note that when Rogue One was on, it just occurred to me, man, this is a really good movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Rogue One is solid for sure.
As a, quote unquote standalone, it's not part of the so-called saga. It's like, man, it really hits on all the notes that the saga laid out there. So I don't know. And it ties in really, I don't know. It just occurred to me that, man, this thing is really good. And I loved it. So
yeah, they call it, they say it's a standalone and not part of the saga, but it's really part of the saga.
Right.
I mean, you almost can't go from episode 3 now to episode 4 without watching Rogue One. It just fits in so well. You almost need to fit that in there.
Yeah. Kind of feel the same way now. It's it's like you said, it's solid. It's good.
Yeah. My May the 4th went a little differently this year than previous years. Is not quite what I expected. I went to a wedding.
Nice.
And I'll tell you what, that was a ton of fun because there was so much Star Wars stuff included in this wedding. It was really just a lot of fun, and my hat's off to the bride and groom for embracing that so much.
That's awesome.
He's a big Star Wars fan, and he's getting married on May the 4th, so you know what's going to happen when that's going down. It's you can't put a Star Wars fan in that situation and he's not going to play.
Yeah, of course.
So it was a ton of fun, and it really got me a couple times because I'm sitting there and then, Duel of the Fates starts playing, and a wedding party's having a lightsaber duel out on the middle of the dance floor. So yeah,
that sounds like a good time to me. So
it was a great time.
Well, congratulations to the happy couple, right? And
yep. Yeah. But since our last show, I guess we should really talk about this first. This was something very sad happened since the last show, and I tell you what, it hit me really hard. I was out shopping, and it was like, wow, like it's one of those things you can't prepare for. And we have a connection to all these actors, and especially Peter Mayhew. Peter Mayhew's been so involved in fandom and embraced it so well. He always saw fandom as, the reason why he was where he was at, and he always wanted to give back.
Yeah.
And and you watch him, it just looked like he was having damn fun, like
right.
Peter Mayhew was one of those people that, you never knew where he was at. He was always somewhere. He was never at home. He was always at some con somewhere.
Yeah.
Taking pictures, signing autographs. He was at Celebration this year.
Yeah.
With all the health problems he's had and the cancellations he's had to make, he made it to Celebration because it meant so much to him.
Yep.
So,
it's always sad when something like this happens, but I have to say, I can't explain why, because I still don't know, but this one seemed to hit me. I don't want to say especially hard. Okay, it was you that showed me this picture that's made the rounds that I'm assuming has.
Yeah, it's been out there
with the 3 3/4 inch figures.
It was the Lego figures, actually, I believe.
No,
was it the 3 3/4?
Yes, and it was Luke, Han, C-3PO facing Leia and R2, with Chewie making his way towards Leia and R2. And when I saw that kind of choked me up, and I really, like I said, I can't explain why that one hit me so hard, but man, it did. It was
yeah, that picture choked me up really bad. It was like, wow, like it just, yeah. And the other thing is, it's Chewie, man.
Yeah,
it's Chewie, and I guess we can kind of be happy in a sense too, because Peter Mayhew really put forth an effort to pass on what he knew and how to be Chewbacca and things like that to Jonas.
Yep.
And Jonas really embraced that and saw Peter as a mentor and really absorbed everything that Peter had to share. So Peter's kind of living on through Jonas. And that's something we can kind of smile at.
Absolutely.
Because he almost like transferred the soul of Chewbacca to Jonas.
Right.
And that's kind of magical, it's
totally.
Yeah, this one was a rough one, and yeah, his presence will definitely be missed because he's been so out there,
yeah,
so accessible, and yeah, we'll definitely miss Peter. It's there's never any easy way to say any of this, and it's always hard to put into words, especially with the connection we've made with these characters and the people behind the mask over the years. So it really hits us like losing a piece of our family.
Totally.
So yeah, always, as always, we'll miss you, Peter, and may the force be with you.
Absolutely.
All right. to go out of this, it's
right.
So we talked about the movie schedule in the opening here.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. So 2022 will be the next time we see a Star Wars film after The Rise of Skywalker. So we're taking a 3-year break here.
Yeah.
Kind of a shorter break than I was anticipating with the way they've been talking.
Agreed. I will say that the old school Star Wars fans, and as well as I do, Joe, that a 3-year break between films is not out of the ordinary.
No, in fact, it was normal.
That was the norm. Yes. So, I don't know. I'm when they were talking hiatus, I was thinking 5 years, something like that. Maybe focus a lot more energy on the streaming service.
Yeah, and that's the impression I was getting from the way they were talking, that they were going to focus on these smaller projects,
right.
and these, smaller stories, and then when the time was right, they were going to come back to the films.
Right.
Um, this is not that kind of schedule to me.
Right. Exactly. This is I don't know. Maybe in Disney's mind, this is a hiatus. Maybe they were, they had some sort of grand plan of, completely saturating the market with Star Wars movies, like kind of like the Marvel franchise. But, I.
Oh yeah, when you compare this to Marvel, this is a hiatus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like, because Marvel is like, oh wow, they're taking a hiatus. It's going to be 6 months without a film.
Yes. It's true. I laugh, but it's true. I personally don't think that Star Wars is that kind of franchise to where you can, like, I don't know. I've said it before. I look at Star Wars, and when it comes out in theaters, it's got to be epic, right?
Yeah.
To where, for me, some people would disagree with me, and that's okay. But for me, the Marvel films, they're all good movies. They're fun to watch, but they kind of lack that epic nature that a Star Wars film has, at least from my point of view.
Agreed. Star Wars definitely has a much richer storytelling method. Yes. Much more steeped in fantasy and lore.
Right.
Oh, there's more of a backstory to a Star Wars film. Even when you do the original, you watch the original trilogy.
Yeah.
You felt like there was history there.
Exactly.
There was always this reference to, the Old Republic and, the Jedi of old and things like that.
Yeah. For 1,000 generations. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not talking about 1,000 generations in Marvel.
Exactly.
Well, they're talking about 6 months ago when this guy showed up and busted the town up.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. The other thing that I took note of is that, so we're gonna get the first one of these in December of 2022, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then 2024, and then 2026. So if you put 2 and 2 together, that's got to be the Benioff and Weiss trilogy, which they said is going to be happening.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt there. They've been full steam ahead. Rian Johnson's been working on other projects.
Right.
They say he's in development, but when they talk about the Benioff and Weiss trilogy, they're deep in development. So,
yeah.
Their schedule seemed a lot closer than Rian Johnson's.
Agreed.
Who knows? They could offset these, and this is just the first salvo. This might be every other kind of deal.
Maybe. I'm going to say this out loud, though, that I think if they're going to, give Benioff and Weiss a trilogy and Johnson a trilogy, each creator or creators of the trilogy kind of need to do their own thing, in my mind, and focus on their, you need you need to have a single focus in charge of a story arc. You know what I'm saying? Yes. That's what I'm getting at. I think that's kind of what they learned from the sequel trilogy a little bit. I'm not, saying one thing or another about any movie. I think a single focus from a single creator is going to be, more, I don't know.
I think you lose momentum if you do that.
It's possible to do that, to lose momentum that way.
You watch one story and then you watch another story and then you continue the first story and then you continue the second story. I think you lose momentum.
Yes.
Star Wars doesn't do well with oversaturation. Like, I think Solo's box office proved that. I don't foresee them oversaturating the cinemas with two stories overlapping.
Right.
I would expect to see one run to its conclusion and then the next one start.
Yep, I would agree with that. And I'm totally okay with that. We all want more Star Wars. We're always clamoring for more. We want, teaser trailers and title announcements and all that kind of stuff. But, I'm also
in Star Wars fandom, we need time to talk about one before we get to the next.
Exactly.
We need time to absorb. We need time to analyze.
And I'm also saying, take your time to make these things great. Yeah,
I don't foresee that being a problem at this point. I think they learned from the Solo thing.
Right.
And they saw that Star Wars kind of lost steam.
Right.
And I think taking a step back, focusing on these series for a little while, and then making the return to the cinema in a big way is the right approach.
Yeah.
Give us time to absorb these series and then go into another Star Wars feature.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Just make sure there's no Starbucks cups laying around. That's I don't know if you saw that, but yeah.
No, I didn't.
Oh. That's okay, go ahead.
You can go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, that's a reference to Game of Thrones, because there was a Starbucks coffee cup like on a table in one of the scenes in Game of Thrones, apparently. And in this latest season, and people were pointing that out. That's all. So.
Oh yeah, you let that happen in Star Wars? Oh man.
Exactly.
Yeah, retcon that.
Yeah, it just cracked me up a little bit, but go ahead.
One thing that people have latched onto a little bit with this schedule is, maybe this is a peek at the Celebration schedule as well.
Oh yeah.
And Disney's plan to take Celebration and D23 and alternate years.
Okay.
Because this year D23 is happening, within months of Celebration.
Right.
So they'll have to have a Star Wars thing there. And they just don't want to overlap these things.
Right. So
the schedule moving forward will be Celebration in 2019 in Anaheim, or 2020 in Anaheim.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
D23 will then be 2021. 2 years from now.
Right.
And then alternating years after that. And it is convenient too that the 2022 Celebration.
Yep.
Will be probably our first look at this first film from Benioff and Weiss or Rian Johnson, whoever. But that'll also coincide with the Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary.
Ah, nice.
So, and then 2024, another film, 2026, another film, giving you celebrations in those years. So allowing Celebration to be the place to get that first look at what's coming up in Star Wars.
It makes sense. Yeah.
And being able to make the presentation all that much bigger because they don't have to save anything for D23, You can just let her rip.
Right.
So.
That's good thought.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the alternating years for the releases of the Avatar films?
I'm honestly, don't care.
Yeah, me too.
I thought Avatar was cool. It's not a story that like sucked me in, and I have to see the next installment.
Right. So this was okay. Yeah, and for all those who love Avatar, forgive me. I haven't seen it. But there are people who haven't seen Star Wars, any of the Star Wars films. Okay, they're rare, but they do exist. In conversations, though, those people, they still know what a Wookiee is. They know what an Ewok is. They know who Jar Jar Binks is, even though they might not have seen the films. So me, having never seen Avatar, there is nothing like that from Avatar that is just kind of, just
let me put it this way.
A known thing. You know what I'm saying?
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
You know my memory.
Sure. Yeah. Excellent.
I've seen Avatar 3 times.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you a single character from Avatar.
Ah. Now that's telling to me. Very telling.
Because Avatar to me was not a great story. It was visually fantastic.
Right.
The story wasn't bad, but it's not epic and like I gotta see more. No, it was a good movie for what it was.
Right.
But it's not my thing. You know, and we'll see if Avatar has the following that they think it does.
Right.
Just because it made a bunch of money doesn't mean it has that following. I mean,
well, when someone says Avatar, what is the first thing you think of? First 3D movie, right? I mean,
well, first modern 3D.
Modern 3D movie. Fine. Yes.
3D technology was around long before that.
Yeah, we're not talking the red and blue glasses. I mean,
right. The first modern 3D movie. It's the film that started what is today's IMAX and things like that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and that's what it's known for.
Yeah,
it's not known for its epic storytelling.
Well, we'll see. Because apparently there's more of those on the docket than there are Star Wars films at this point coming out.
Yeah, I think James Cameron's just bored.
Yeah, maybe. It could be the case.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Hey,
they keep pushing Avatar back. Avatar is one of those things, like, I'll believe it's coming when I see it.
Right. Because
Avatar 2 was supposed to come out a while ago.
Yeah.
And it's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And here it is. This announcement pushes it back again.
Right.
So
hopefully it's great, and all of my lackluster enthusiasm here is shown to be misguided. But
yeah, it could be. Like I said, I don't mean to bang on it. It's a good film.
Right.
But it's not on my must-see list for the sequels. I'll tell you what, though. One thing Avatar did do, I really would like to go to the Avatar portion of the Animal Kingdom park.
Ah, yes.
At Disney World.
Right.
I hear great things about that. And you think about the visuals of Avatar.
Uh-huh.
And what that could mean in a theme park.
Right.
That's very intriguing.
Yeah. I have heard excellent things about the ride, the Avatar ride itself or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'd like to see it at night. All lit up and the way Avatar should be.
Okay.
Well, in the film, it's all very vibrant and bright and everything's glowing.
Ah, I see. Okay.
You can't really do that in the Orlando sun.
Right.
The Orlando sun has a way of hiding the glow.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So Journey to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
A lot of reading material coming our way.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
So it looks like a couple novels. We got Resistance Reborn. This next one, actually, like when I first saw it, I think you felt the same way. It kind of was like, meh.
Right.
But thought about it a little more after reading the description, which is the Force Collector here.
Yeah.
And reading the description, it says, in this Journey to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker young adult novel set just before The Force Awakens, a restless teenager sets out to discover what connection his mysterious Force powers have to the fabled Jedi, and what the Force has in store for him.
Right. So my first thought was Journey to the Rise of Skywalker, and this is set before The Force Awakens. Right. Something's not meshing up here. It's but and also we kind of take a look at the cover art of this, and you can't judge a book by its cover, right? Haha. But there's some very interesting things there.
That's bull. That's how you judge a book.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Does it say Star Wars on it? Yep, right there on the cover. Okay, got it.
Can't judge a book by its... Who's picked up a book and says, wow, this is a crappy cover. I really want to read this.
Exactly.
I've always hated that saying.
I know. But definitely interesting things that this guy's toting around with him.
Yeah, you got that Stormtrooper helmet.
Right.
Lightsaber. What looks like a training remote.
Yep.
Looks like you could have a holocron sticking out the top there. It's really hard to tell what that is.
Yeah.
But it kind of has the look of a holocron.
Yeah, it does look that way.
So, and I immediately thought of our segment we had last week, I believe.
Yeah.
We talked about that potential story leak.
Right.
Which, warning. They talked about an acolyte that gets possessed by Palpatine.
Yes.
So I kind of wonder if it's this character.
Could be. Being a teenager at the time of The Force Awakens. Well, I guess he would, it's possible he could still be a teenager during Rise of Skywalker, but, we'll see. Because,
Well, they say some time has passed there, so it depends on how much time.
Yeah.
So. But the other thing that stands out to me is this Journey to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker Allegiance, this Marvel Comics series.
Yeah.
And this is another one that the description grabbed me. And the description, and I'm reading these from StarWars.com. Says, on the run since the destruction of Starkiller Base, General Leia and the remaining handful of Resistance have barely managed to survive, much less strike back against the superior forces of the First Order. Running low on options, Leia decides to reach out to her former allies, the Mon Calamari, whose shipyards once powered the Rebel Alliance.
This could be interesting.
Yes.
So, I just had a thought.
Yeah?
That being said, and thinking back to the teaser, is that where that ship is diving down to? It's like kind of in darkness. The ship's going down to the city or whatever. Is that underwater possibly?
Oh, it could be. I guess that bears another look.
Yeah.
I don't know. Interesting premise, though.
Yeah.
Looking forward to these. And then there's a lot of kids, novels and, activity books.
Right.
So.
Finn and Poe, choose your own adventure. Or choose your destiny. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's some notables that really stand out, and really looking forward to it. Maybe get ourselves a little bit of a sneak peek before the movie hits.
Yeah.
Just enough to fuel our speculation.
Right. Exactly.
Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, @TheWarsAndMore on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWarsAndMore. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com. All right, so in past episodes, we've talked about the Salt Lake City Comic-Con, and it's since been renamed FanX because, San Diego Comic-Con sucks.
Yeah. Lawsuits, lawyers.
Yeah, lawsuit, all kinds of nasty business. And fortunately, my sister has been able to attend the last couple FanX events, and so she has some perspective on how it's grown and really what's going on there and why it's drawn so much attention from, events like San Diego Comic-Con. And on top of that, she's also a kind of new fan of the saga. So she brings kind of a different perspective, and we're really looking forward to kind of diving into that a little bit. How you doing tonight, Steph?
I'm great. How are you guys?
I'm doing
good.
Fantastic.
Glad to hear it.
So, FanX, you got to go this year. It's been a growing show, and you've seen that a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit how it's grown? Like,
well, this spring was my first spring show going, first spring con, and the last fall in 2018 was my second fall. So I've gone to 3 total.
Oh, so they do like a fall and a spring con?
Yes. So they have one in September and one in April. But last year, because of that whole San Diego thing, they didn't do the spring one because they were finishing up all the court, shenanigans on.
Okay. Well, that's even more impressive than that they're having this kind of draw for twice a year.
Yeah.
Well, so that's something that I noticed though this year going to the spring was just there wasn't as many guests there for the spring. It's not as big, and I don't know if they're trying to keep it small or if it's just not as big as the fall one because it's not as popular. Because that's the number one thing I did notice between the spring and the fall was the spring was just much smaller. They had a whole section of the convention center not even opened.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it seemed a little bit smaller. They still had the big guests, like Zachary Levi was there, who's Shazam, and Jonas, who plays Chewbacca.
Oh yeah, okay, Jonas, yeah.
Jonas, sorry, my apologies.
Yeah.
He was there, and then they have like Val Kilmer was. His people were there finding stuff for him, or however they do it, because I didn't ever actually see him.
I saw a photo of him there.
Okay, yeah, because I think they have like a curtain that he actually sits behind.
Yeah, some stars do that.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's kind of weird to me, but I guess they just want their privacy and want to make sure people are, paying and not just taking pictures of them. But it was the first time I went, it was very hectic. A couple years ago, because we decided on a Wednesday to go that Friday, so I had no idea what it was, and to me, Comic-Con was just a bunch of nerds like walking around talking about Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and it wasn't really anything I was interested in, but I was bored. So I was like, let's go to this. And I took Skylar and Sadie to Friday's con, and then we enjoyed it so much that before we left that night, we went and upgraded our passes to the multi-pass so we could return Saturday. And
right on.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like, just, you get these people that put so much time and effort into their costumes here, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that happens everywhere, but there was groups of people dressed as the Nightmare Before Christmas, so Jack Skellington and Sally, and then there was like Inside Out, so like happiness, joy, and all,
Right.
or joy, sadness, all those characters, and it's just amazing what people put into it, and it having structure last fall when I went,
Yeah.
it was nice to like kind of know what I was expecting, but it was bigger. Like there were more panels, so there was more people there, and it was overwhelming still, even though I had been once before. But it felt good to know what I was doing last
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah, I had the same experience with Celebration. When I went to Celebration, it was kind of the first day was overwhelming, and I was like, whoa, I have no idea I didn't get to do anything.
Yeah.
I ended up like finally figuring out I could get into the show store, and I did that. So I salvaged a day, but
Yeah.
it was like I was not prepared for the level of structure you needed going in to be able to accomplish anything at these cons. And I had been to. Go ahead.
You have to know like where things are, and like what's happening where, and what time you need to be somewhere to get into a line for something that's happening, so you don't miss it. And Jeff Goldblum was there last fall, and his line for his panel was outrageous, and I had no idea that was going to happen. And I felt so lucky that there was like a group of people that saw me just standing staring at the line, and they're like, here, join us, you can come with us. And so I got to walk in with them and like kind of cut the line, but it was like I had no idea to expect that. So it was nice to realize that these things are so much bigger than I had anticipated.
And it's definitely more than a bunch of nerds sitting around talking about Star Wars, and
it's so much more than Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Like they have Disney and Marvel and just everything.
Mm-hmm.
They cover all grounds, DC, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, these cons. They just and that's neat that you were able to join a group of people and get into a panel that, since you weren't prepared, you might not have gotten into.
Yeah.
You go to the end of the line, you might have been cut off.
Yep. Actually, they did cut a lot of people off, and they had, volunteers waiting for people to get up and leave to bring more people in whenever that happened, because there just was so many people there just for Jeff Goldblum. Like, it was amazing. And they did this really funny thing with him. Instead of doing the typical like Q&A,
right?
They had him read tweets about himself. So it was super funny. It was just him reading all these awkward tweets that people say about him. So, yeah, it was really funny.
So one big thing about that I enjoy about going to cons, and I've experienced this at smaller cons and at Star Wars Celebration, is just while you're in line, talking to people. You're all kind of there, especially when you're in line for something. You're all there for a common thing, mm-hmm. So conversation comes easy.
Yeah.
Is it the same way out there at FanX?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially when I bring the girls with me.
Yeah.
Because people will start the conversation up with them talking about whether they're behaving or a compliment on their costume, because they love to dress up. And we just do simple costumes for them, put them in a cute little Princess Jasmine outfit or Wonder Woman, simple things like that. And they'll just ask them like, oh, do you like Princess Jasmine? Is she your favorite? And Sadie being her Spitfire self is like,
Yep.
no, my favorite's Ariel. Like, she's like, I just dressed like Jasmine because Jasmine's here. So yeah, we got to meet like Jasmine and Aladdin this year and Pocahontas.
Oh, that's neat.
And we've also already met Ariel and Belle. So we've got 4 Disney princesses already checked off our list. And our goal is to meet them all.
Right on.
Awesome.
Now I saw Skylar was Rey this year. So she had a Star Wars costume.
And she got a lot of compliments because for 2 reasons. She has like the same hair color as Rey. So she put a tight little bun in on the top of her head, and so she got a ton of compliments that she looked just like Rey. And she carried around a BB-8 popcorn bucket. So she had her little BB-8, and people just loved it. They're like, "Oh, you have your BB-8." And she's like, "Yeah, I do," and she was so proud of it.
That's good. That's really putting some thought into her costume.
Yeah, and she picked it out by herself, and she really enjoyed The Last Jedi. She hasn't really watched any of the other ones. I feel like they are a little dark for her. She's still only 7.
I will politely disagree, but
well,
if anything, I think The Last Jedi is a little dark.
It is, but with the porgs, I sense some happiness with them, and all they really focus on is Chewie and the porgs. Like, they don't really catch on to a whole lot of other things yet. So I haven't.
Yeah, like the whole movie is a bunch of people dying.
Well, besides that, like, it's not like The Force Awakens where the beginning just starts with, ugh. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah,
I guess the easy thing there is for kids. The ships are exploding, and the kids aren't really thinking about all the people on those ships. Whereas, like, us adults are like, this is a lot of death.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
This is really dark. And that's where I say the darkness of The Last Jedi really comes through, because they pretty much wipe out the entire resistance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I see we've segued here. So
yeah.
Yes.
So we're in Star Wars now. So you're recent into Star Wars, right? So you kind of binged all the episodes leading up to the release of The Last Jedi, right?
Yes, very much so binged. I got a steal of a deal on Amazon for the episodes 1 through 3 and episodes 4 through 6, the Blu-rays. So I purchased those, and then I bought Rogue One and The Force Awakens separately, and I watched them in storyline order, so that way I didn't get confused.
Okay.
I know that a lot of people say, no, you should watch it in the order they were released. And I was like, but that's not the story, so I'm going to go with the easy route. But yeah, I showed a lot of interest because you guys started this podcast right before The Last Jedi came out. The Last Jedi. My apologies. And I was like, I'm going to watch these movies. So I think it took me 8 days to watch all of them. And
yeah, that's binging and a half right there.
That's pretty good.
Yep. There was a couple of days where there was 2 watched because, there wasn't anything going on, and we just stayed at home. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to watch Star Wars. I'll be back. And I wanted to make sure that I could go see The Last Jedi in theaters. I didn't want to miss that opportunity.
Right.
I had never seen a Star Wars film in theaters before, so I was really intrigued at what it would be like with all the explosions and, this CGI to see how they make these ships fly and stuff like that. So I really wanted to make sure I got the full experience by seeing it in the theater.
And it really is a much different experience. It's
Oh yes, absolutely. Especially nowadays with, you know, the IMAX. Pretty sure I saw it at the IMAX theater, if I'm not mistaken, because it was just like so bright and you could just see every detail, and it was fantastic. That's actually one of like my most favorite parts. Can we get spoiler alerts on this?
No, you don't need a spoiler alert for The Last Jedi.
It's been 2 years. If you haven't seen it, then you shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Nice. I like that.
Nice.
So the end when Kylo and Luke are about to like battle it out. Like one thing that I noticed, and I had never seen it before, you know, but the red sand, they played with the white sand and it turned red when they were, I think it was Poe that played with it, maybe, or no, that wasn't.
It was one of the troopers in the trench.
One of the guys in the trench, they played with the sand and you saw it turn red, but then you didn't see any footprints from Luke walking. So nothing turned red with Luke walking.
So you saw this right away?
Right away, I noticed that.
That's impressive. I missed that the first time around.
Yeah, and so I was like, wait a minute, he's not there. And that's like what gave it away, is he's not there.
Huh.
And so I was like, what? And then he died, and I was so sad. It was heartbreaking. I'm just hoping he comes back as a Force ghost in this next one.
Well, I think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion that we'll at least see that.
Yes.
Well, especially because they just did Yoda in The Last Jedi as a Force ghost. So, and you hear his voice, you know, in the trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. So you think that that's kind of the route that they're going, is Force ghost.
Yeah, for all we know, they just brought Mark in for the trailer. Like,
that's nice. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
That would be very upsetting.
I think they have said
I think
that
Doug would walk out.
Oh, no. I won't walk out.
If he's not in it. I mean, you can't end the saga about the Skywalkers and not have the main Skywalker in it, right?
I agree.
So.
I agree 100%.
Perfect.
All right, so how do you rate the films? Like, how would you say you like them? Like, what are your favorites?
I think that my all-time favorite is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
All right.
Wow.
It's so dark, but at the same, like, I don't know, it's so hard to explain why that's my favorite. I think it's because it's not terribly, the effects aren't terrible, but it was still a movie made in the 90s, you know, or early
2000s.
Early 2000s.
Yep.
And I don't really like the original trilogy. I can't get into it because the effects are so terrible.
So I think this is a symptom of coming in now.
Too late. Yeah.
You know, you're too late to the party. You know, because I know for a fact that you like movies that have terrible effects.
Probably. I mean, Jurassic Park. Well, no, that's not terrible effects. That's pretty fantastic. But yeah, I would say I do. But I grew up watching those ones over and over again.
But for example, Jurassic Park. You brought up Jurassic Park. If you take Jurassic World and you put it side by side with Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park's kind of terrible in the effects department.
Absolutely not. You don't talk like that.
Oh, it is.
Jurassic Park is the original. And I know that that's how people feel about Star Wars too.
I was just gonna say, you just like made our point, sis.
No, yeah, no, I absolutely know that, and I know I love the acting in the original trilogy. I really do. I think that Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and all the entire cast. I think that they all just do fantastic. Making sure that you connect with them, but it's really the effects. And I think maybe if I watched it in release order also, that might have helped with me not being so picky about it. Because, especially watching Rogue One and then going into episode 4, it was like, okay. They're just completely different effects wise and CGI and all that.
Well, one of my praises for Rogue One is that Rogue One did such a good job of grounding the effects to where it kind of transitioned a little seamlessly into the original trilogy. Like they kept their effects really grounded in that era. More practical props, more.
Especially the ending scenes with them like on the ship and everything. I completely agree. It wasn't like outrageous, especially because that movie came out, what was it, 2015? Right?
16.
16? Okay. Yep. Yeah, so that one came out way later. Young Leia really threw me off at the end there of Rogue One. I was like, wait a minute, how do we do this?
Magic of CGI.
Yes, that was
CGI.
My only complaint with that, like I thought it was great, but I thought that scene was a little too bright. Like,
yeah,
like I didn't know what they were going for there, but it was a little too bright. It kind of was in contrast of the entire rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So, I know they were probably trying to go to light up the scene because it's like it's the whole point of that was now they have hope, so brighten it up and kind of try and pass that on you visually. So
right. So yeah, that helps them transition into A New Hope, and I just think it would have been cool if they would have left Leia turned around, like facing away, never turned her towards the camera.
Really?
I thought it would be like a cool way to end it. So that that's where you're going into is A New Hope without actually showing her face.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
So Doug, you've been pretty quiet. You got any questions here?
Well, okay. So I guess my question would be, like special effects aside, how did you feel about the storyline itself? You feel like it transitioned from one trilogy to the next and all that? Okay, I mean,
oh yeah, I especially liked, and I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but about Rogue One, how they put that one in there and they didn't kill off, and like it was all not extremely major characters from the first set of movies and the second set. It was a bunch of unknowns, and they were able to do and accomplish everything they needed to for that movie to make it happen for a good transition in between there, without having to worry about character development, stuff like that. I love Anakin's story. I never really knew it because I grew up with just Luke, obviously, and then I didn't pay attention to the first 3 episodes until just a couple years ago because I was like, well, I have no interest in this. And then I finally found out Anakin's story, and I was like, well, this is really cool how they this is a prequel, but it transitions and flows so well into the Darth Vader storyline, and you really know where he comes from and how he gets to the dark side. And they showed all that so well. And
I ain't gonna argue that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree, and I in a lot of ways, the whole the trilogy of trilogies, I guess it's all Anakin's story, really. It's his family. So, cool. I'm glad you feel that way about it. Because when it comes to Star Wars, obviously for me, like the films are, the gold standard, and but when it comes to Star Wars, it's all about the story for me. So, whether it's coming from the films or books or the TV series we have now, I just love the Star Wars universe and all the stories we get from it. So I'm glad to hear that you like that. So
yeah, as long as it sticks to the story and doesn't try to go off the wall. I know that we didn't really talk about this, but I wasn't a big fan of Solo. Are most people fans of that movie?
I think a lot of people who saw it are.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good movie, if it were its own movie, but I didn't feel like it fit very well. And I don't know if that's because it was only Han, but
well, I think that was the point. I think they really wanted to kind of separate this from the saga.
Okay.
They wanted to show Han in Han's natural habitat, if you will.
Yeah.
Show you why he's, known as a scoundrel and an outlaw even.
Right.
So I think that's why they tried to keep him, and even still, he ended up being a hero in the end. But kind of showing that he always had that good side to him, even though he was trying to be scoundrel.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense. I always thought, since I watched it, I was just this is a really good movie if it were just its own movie. But I just feel like trying to place it, because it goes before Rogue One. Am I correct?
Yeah.
No. It's after Episode 3, before Rogue One?
Is it before? Yeah, it's before Rogue One.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it fit. And maybe that's how all these movies that they're probably going to come out with about Obi-Wan and all of them, because I'm assuming there's something coming out about all of them separately to give you the backstory.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either.
The whole idea now is that they're gonna really move away from all this and go back hundreds of years and do a prequel way back in the time where there were, tons of Jedi and tons of Sith.
Oh, that would
kind of show that the start of that eternal battle.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, that'd be something cool to see. I want to know where Yoda came from, and I know that you don't feel that way, Joey. I know that you feel you want Yoda to remain a mystery.
Yeah, you've been listening.
I want to know all about him.
And I think a lot of newer fans like you feel that way.
He's just so cute.
Yeah, I think a lot of newer fans want that, behind the curtain of Yoda. They want to see more Yoda. And I'd love to see more Yoda. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want too much revealed about Yoda. I don't want to take away the mystery of Yoda. So
okay.
I think his mystery is part of his allure.
That's true. You don't know his real background, so.
Yeah, he's I don't know. 900 years is a lot of area to cover too.
That's true. That is very true. Yes.
So, wow, we're running long.
Yeah.
So, we haven't got to it yet. The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay,
You've seen the trailer.
I have.
And so, how do you feel about that trailer? Are you excited? Is it look like, I mean, they didn't reveal much, but does it look like it may be heading the direction you were kind of hoping, or?
I'm very excited. I'm anxious to see where Rey goes with all the knowledge that she knows about the Jedi and everything now. Obviously, she was smart enough to save them at the end of The Last Jedi. And help the Resistance come, be free from getting destroyed.
Like all 12 of them?
Yeah, right. Well, you can't have the 12 of them go, or then they're just fully gone. But I'm interested, and I hope they do something with it, is if Kylo and Rey remain connected somehow. Like, I want to know if, Kylo lied to her about who her parents are. I'm hoping they give some closure on that, because I did read a speculation article that they think that Rey is a Skywalker, and it was
Okay. How do you feel about that?
I think it would be too obvious, but I think it would make me happy at the same time. I feel like it's a very obvious route to go. You know how sometimes movies they're just so predictable. I think it makes it cooler if she's not a Skywalker, because then she's just this awesome Jedi that kicks butt, and she's not related to any of them. So I want them to remain connected only in the way that, because they're both the most powerful of the light and the dark side right now. Like, for some reason like that. What intrigued me the most about that trailer, though, two things actually, I guess. The Death Star.
Yeah.
Like them finding the Death Star. And Emperor Palpatine's laugh.
Okay. I think that's what got everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that sticks with you. That's something you don't forget. So when you hear that at the end, I'm like, oh boy, where's this about to head? And knowing that they're on the planet with the Death Star crumbles there and everything, like, did he survive somehow? And he's on that planet and that's what they're doing there? Or, like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, a lot of people talk about, like, his survival, because when he talked about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he was telling that story to Anakin, and he kind of wrapped it up and said, funny, he could save others from dying, but he couldn't save himself.
Yep.
And he had this, like, evil ass smirk on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of speculation that he had that smirk because he figured it out.
Oh. He knew how to save himself.
And then there's also a lot of speculation that you wouldn't know a lot about this, because this comes from all the old books and stuff like that. And it's the Sith's ability to kind of, their presence remain in a tomb or within an artifact, something like that, and they would be able to possess other Force users even.
So is that what, like, the Death Star is?
Yeah, that would be like his tomb.
Right.
He was able. Okay.
So he would be connected to that. So his presence wouldn't be able to really leave there.
Oh, okay. So that might be where the laugh's coming from. So he might not be alive for real.
Right.
His presence.
Yeah, like he kind of be alive in the Force.
Okay.
But as far as what's the word? Corporally.
Right.
Not so much. He wouldn't be alive in the flesh.
Okay. That'd be much better because that movie was a long time ago. So he died a long time ago.
Yeah, why would he stay there, right?
Yeah. Right. I think something that kind of bothered me about the trailer was Kylo or whoever it is fixing Kylo's helmet. I don't want that stupid helmet back. I know everybody else loves it, but Adam Driver's got a pretty face.
I was just about to ask, don't you think he's more menacing with the helmet?
Yeah, I think he's got a beautiful face and we should show it. Take advantage.
See, I have a different opinion on the helmet. I thought he had grown beyond that. You know, and
doesn't need it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I kind of took it. But Doug, you had a different stance on that.
Yeah, basically what I just said. You know, he's more menacing with it, but I'm forgetting what I said before, but
I believe you said he destroyed the helmet because of Snoke, and it was
right.
Because they made fun of him, calling him childish, right? Or calling him like a child.
Yeah.
And you basically said that now he's moved beyond Snoke's insults and his put downs and
right.
Like he's now ascended beyond him.
Well, isn't he like the new leader of the Order? I mean, he
supreme leader.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why would he want to put the helmet back on now that he's the leader? Wouldn't he want everyone to know his face and be terrified of his face?
Well, I think the explanation for that would be just his love affair with his heritage.
Yeah, Vader.
Yeah.
His
Vader
idolization of Vader.
Well, he had a helmet so he could survive. Like he didn't put a helmet on just for shits and giggles. He easy on
those words, sis.
Oh, sorry.
No biggie. No biggie. We can get away with a couple.
Yeah, he had it for survival because he was practically burned to death. And so it's strange that Kylo would want to go, put a helmet onto me, because I felt like with Vader wearing that helmet, it's only for his survival.
Well, I think Doug would agree with me here too. So one thing that if his infatuation with Vader goes beyond just Vader and kind of goes into the Sith as a whole, the Sith were well known for wearing different armors.
Yeah.
And not just because they needed them. Yeah, a lot of them did because they suffered battle wounds and things like that, and sometimes just tangling with the dark side would cause physical damage to them. Okay. So some of them wore armor because they had to, but some of them wore armor just because it was the Sith thing to do.
That's what they're known for. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So armor in the Sith is not a crazy idea.
Not uncommon. Do you think that there was another article speculation of Kylo finding the balance between the light and the dark side?
Absolutely not.
He's full dark side now, right?
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe he truly is a dark side user that has no real malice. But as far as the whole balance thing goes, no. I think he's beyond use of the light.
Okay.
I think there is the possibility that he could come back to the light in his final act. Meaning he must sacrifice himself in order to save Rey or somebody.
I like that theory, especially because that's how the other ones have ended, right? So you got
like Vader did.
Like Vader.
Yeah, Vader sacrifices himself to save Luke, and so it's just that'd be a fun twist. He's like saving Rey, and he dies, so it's a good thing.
The part that's really hard to swallow with that one is he killed his father, Han Solo. So that makes it tough.
Yeah, save a girl but kill your dad.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean that was a step Vader never took. I mean, I guess he did. I mean, he did in a way. I mean, he didn't directly kill Padme, but in a way, he was responsible for Padme's death.
Yes.
So yeah, okay, maybe he did go that route a little bit, but when it came down to the family, like he turned.
Yeah.
For Kylo, he made that leap.
Right.
He went full on baddie with that.
Yeah, that was his decision. He at that moment decided to kill his father. So yeah. Yep. All I know about the Rise of Skywalker is that there better be some porgs hanging out in the Millennium Falcon, or I'll be upset. I know nobody else likes porgs.
I don't hate them.
I was gonna say there's a porg riding around in our truck all the time. So
yes, I have 2 of them in my bedroom, 2 stuffed animals. I want one. I could start a petition of buy Stephanie a porg.
You should have got that big one from Target on Force Friday.
What's Force Friday?
Oh. Well, Force Friday is a day where they release all the merchandise for the new stuff coming out.
Oh.
So the action figures, the plushies, the last one I went to, I went at midnight because I needed a Thrawn figure in my life. I didn't care what I had to do to get it. I didn't care if I had to go to 5 stores at midnight to get it. I got it at the first store because I was the second person in line. So woohoo, yay me. But I mean, I was looking at the first person in line and I was thinking the whole night, like, you better not grab all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're going to fight.
So that would explain how I saw a porg before the movie came out.
Yes.
Way before.
So on Force Friday at midnight, if you went to Target, when I believe it was Target that did this.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
If you went to Target, when you got in line, you were handed a raffle ticket, and each store had 3 of these giant, like 3.5 foot tall, super round porgs.
Oh.
That they gave away to 3 winners of the raffle tickets.
Well, why didn't you win me a porg?
I didn't go to Target.
Oh, okay.
Target was too far away.
That makes sense.
So a lot of places had some sort of giveaway like that. Unfortunately, the place I picked didn't have any giveaways.
Bummer.
So yeah, it's what it is. But I got what I wanted. Chris Land got what she wanted. She was after the Rey on the speeder.
Oh, okay.
So she got that. And it was a good haul. We ended up spending a lot of money, and they got one coming up this year, actually in October, I believe. This one they're calling a Triple Force Friday.
You'll have to let me know when it is.
So this one will have merchandise for, correct me if I'm wrong, Doug, but it's the Rise of Skywalker,
Mm-hmm.
the Mandalorian,
Mm-hmm.
and Resistance, right?
I believe you got it right.
All right. So,
Oh.
all right, sis.
All
We are
right.
going to have to wrap this up. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes. Thank
this
you
was
very
good
much.
fun.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
I gotta
All right.
say, I love the
maybe we'll
insight.
have you back on sometime and talk a little more about individual. Maybe we'll have you back to talk about the Rise of Skywalker when we get there.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Alrighty. Well,
All right.
thank
We'll
you
talk
again, and bye-bye now.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Well, that was a lot of fun, and thanks tons to my sister for taking the time out to sit down and talk with us. I really found her take on all this very intriguing. It's very different. It's refreshing, kind of.
It is refreshing. It's I don't know, to get another view of something you love so much. It helps you to look at it in new ways as well. It's cool.
Yes, and it's sometimes we all don't realize that we don't have that coming in fresh vantage point.
Exactly.
And coming in from that angle really gives you a different perspective on how the saga ties together.
Absolutely. Yes.
And and that's really the beauty of Star Wars is, no one's ever really wrong. It's a lot of times about how you enjoy it. You know?
Exactly. I gotta say, Joe, I love what you said right there. No one's ever really wrong. You're right. However you feel about Star Wars is how you feel about it, and that is right for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of things in Star Wars that are concrete, right? This is the way it happened.
Sure, yeah.
But there is so much in Star Wars that is speculation.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, our own continuations of threads.
Yep.
And we're not all going to look at it the same way.
No, and we shouldn't. That's the beauty part.
And the fun thing is to sit back and listen to different points of view.
Yep.
And hear how they describe it, and then compare it with your own, and to get to talk about it with someone else. Like that was fun there too. We got to discuss some things, with our viewpoint and her viewpoint, and kind of, gel them together.
Exactly.
So
it was a lot of fun. It was
a lot of fun, and I really hope to get her back someday. And like I said, hopefully to talk about the Rise of Skywalker, because we're all on level ground here.
Exactly.
Yeah. We don't know where this one's going. No one's got the high ground right now.
That's right.
So, yeah, really excited for the future of Star Wars, and really excited to hear what all the new fans that are experiencing it for the first time and going through all those emotions and feelings and all that speculation that we went through all those years, and in the end, when we all get done with all of our speculating, we may all end up in the same place.
That's right.
So, time will tell.
Absolutely.
But of course, if you have anything to add to the conversation, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. You can find all of that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. We'll talk next week.